Gordon and my son Abe over here. We took off and we went so it's a year ago, we went over to Australia, and it was wonderful to be over in a different part of the world, you know. They're sort of like us, I guess. And it was kind of, well, we had to fly everywhere, and I don't like flying so much. I like to see where I'm actually going, but the cities were too far apart to play in the time that we had to be there and to drive, so we didn't drive it, we flew everything. And the cool thing was that we'd have these big rent-a-vans, and we'd put all this gear in the rent-a-van and go do the gig, and then we would take it to the airport, and you could stop at the curb in the terminal, and you could get out and walk in and buy stuff, like tickets and everything. It was so nice to be in a place where nobody was saying, can't stop here, can't stop, gotta keep moving, keep moving. And I thought, I think I remember a time when we were chilled out and weren't so afraid and nervous about everything and so terrorized or whatever, and it was really sweet. I mean, some things was the same, don't get me wrong. I mean, they still searched us. Well, me. At least 4 or 5 times before I even got to the plane. A lot of people think that's a new thing. I remember that from 30 years ago over here. My name is still on the freaking list from 30 years ago, is what the problem is. And I tell these young security people, you don't understand. I'm nowhere near the threat I'd hoped to become. And they stopped poor Gordon over here. He had his mandolin with him in the security area. And they opened it up and they saw, you know, some strings that he had, you know, wrapped up. And they said, you can't take those strings on the plane. He said, you gotta be kidding. And they said, oh no, you can strangle somebody with them strings. So they confiscated Gordon's strings. Of course, they left the ones on the mandolin that were already there because they knew that no terrorist would ever used strings to strangle anybody. I mean, some of the stuff going on in the world is only there to put a smile on your face. There's no other reasonable explanation for it, is what I'm saying. And now they got dogs walking around smelling everything at the airports and everything. That's sort of like a new technology when you think of it. Or not. I guess because for me, technology is something that comes about when one person can do something that's really unique and special, but nobody else could do it almost, you know. And because of technology, it's a thing that everybody gets to do. It's like ice cream. Somebody invents ice cream a couple of 100 years ago, but only the king that the guy was working for gets to eat the ice cream. And now it's 200 years later, and because of technology, everybody's got ice cream in the whole world. Maybe that's not a good example. Okay, it's more like somebody can hear from far away. I mean, really far. And the next thing you know, somebody invents a telephone. Now everybody can hear from far away. It's not even like a big deal. Okay, it's more like somebody could see like 1,000 miles. I mean, maybe he couldn't, but he said he could, and we thought he could. And so the next thing you know, somebody invents a TV. Now everybody can see 1,000 miles. And I'm saying if you use the technology, you don't develop the skills that invented it, the powers that invented it in the first place. I'm saying when I was a kid, I remember there was a man that would stand on those airport runways out there in Queens. He would smell airplanes as they was coming in for a landing. And he would pick out not just the plane, but what seat in what plane. And he would radio in to some other guys at the gate saying, there's a man in seat 36C carrying some illegal substance. And they'd pick that poor guy up at the gate, and he'd be wondering, how'd they know? I feel the disbelief of this crowd here. People saying, what is he talking about? I know what I'm talking about. Because one time, I was sitting in seat 36C. I was coming into America from a foreign land, and I had what we used to call an illegal substance on my person. I didn't mean to have it. It was just so cheap over there. And my friends were giving me presents and stuff, and I didn't open them until the plane took off. You know, I got in the plane, the door closed, the plane takes off, I'm opening my presents. Uh-oh. I knew I was in trouble, because first of all, I was sitting in a no-smoking section. Like what we had in them days. And not only that, I grew up in a waste not, want not family. Couldn't just throw it away. Thinking about smokeless kids in China or something, you know. And I had what we used to call like an inspiration. But we don't call it that now. It's more something like, I don't know, like paranoia. And we used to call feelings like that inspiration. As a matter of fact, I was getting fairly inspired. Beyond that, I was getting so inspired, I was moving beyond inspiration altogether. I was waltzing over into revelation. Because I could see stuff. And I was looking out the window of my plane. I could see the man standing on the runway smelling my plane. And I was 1,000 miles away from America at the time. But I seen him as plain as day, and in a final desperate fit of inspiration, not knowing what else to do, I ate it. And there I was, sitting in seat 36C, D, E, F. I was floating around the plane. I don't really remember the rest of the trip. I just remember when the plane come in for a landing and come to a stop. Because a time tunnel come to meet me. It was attached to the building, and it come out like, and it attached itself on the plane. And people were disappearing into the time tunnel, being sucked right in like, and I thought, I'm not going. Till I was personally escorted into the time tunnel. And I remember I was halfway through the time tunnel when all of a sudden, standing right in front of me in the time tunnel, there was the same man, the man I had seen in my revelation 1,000 miles ago, standing on the runway, smelling my plane, was now standing right in front of me in the time tunnel. And he had a look in his eye that said, I know you ate it. I had a look in my eye that said, yep.